Okay, at this point, we got our headlight housing bolted up. Also added a bolt over here as well because that was loose. Put a bolt down there, get that secured. Fun part came when I went to put the bumper up. You can see right here, that bracket is a little bent. Same thing on that side. And upon trying to put this bumper on, found the bumper was essentially hanging down. Look at the inner bumper here, which I had to separate from the outer bumper right there. The inner bumper is dented. You can kind of see it. It is dented compared to that point right here. It's dented. Same thing over here, dented. This thing had a front end collision that damaged the bumper, the inner bumper. So I had to separate this thing in order to get to the inside of the inner bumper so I could see if I could bash that in straight again. And to do that, there were a few bolts along the top that I was able to get off easily. But then there were some carriage bolts that were actually hidden behind that little rubber strip that's on the hood right there that went across the front of this outer bumper here. Had to pull that part off, which was kind of fun in and of itself because it had a bunch of rusty cap nuts on there. Some of them didn't come off easily, so I ended up having to pull this strip off. More than likely, that strip will need to be replaced altogether. That'll be in a future date. But after exposing the carriage bolts, I had to grind them off because when I tried to take them off from the inside, they rounded out and would not come off. So out came the die grinder and out they came. I finally got the bumpers separated so I could go ahead and see if I could beat this metal straight again. And after that, I'll end up hanging the inner bumper first and then rehang the outer bumper. So I'm gonna go ahead, start beating on this thing. Okay, I beat the hell out of this inner bumper here. You could also see there's a little crack that formed in the process of beating the hell out of it. But all intents and purposes, I got it pretty well straightened out. Enough so that this thing should go back up pretty straight. Worst case scenario, I might have to put some kind of spacers behind the lower studs on the brackets that go in there in order to level it off right so the bumper will hang straight when I do put the outer bumper back on. But you could clearly see this is a lot straighter, kind of even with the ends compared to how it was beforehand. So the next thing I will have to do is take the old brackets, which is a 4-piece or 4-stud bracket that actually goes over this little area right here using some lock washers to hold it in place, and then it allows you to hang the bumper up without the bracket just falling back in as you're trying to hang it up. So I have to actually take those and cut some new treads on because everything is pretty rusty and the nuts that go on there won't really go on there, and I don't want to damage anything by trying to force it on. So I'll just cut new treads on those brackets before we hang this junk back up. That'll be next. All right, while we're at it here, went ahead and took the time to put all the outer trim back on, like the headlight trim right here, this grill trim right here, went back on using cap nuts on the studs that are on the piece. Also the grill too, which is held on by 6 screws. Another headlight trim piece there, so we've got all that put back on. Then around the doors right here, we have 2 trim pieces going around there, and the rocker panel trim right there, the little door jamb trim. Also put the mirror back on. Of course, on the driver's side on a lot of these old cars, they actually had a remote mirror. So we were glad to keep that little feature, so I could be able to put all this back together on the door panel and actually have a little remote mirror on there. Next, continuing on around, got one of the rear marker lights put in. Same thing on the other side. We have another one, and then of course more door trim right here, a regular mirror right there, and the rocker panel trim right there. So managed to clear all that out of there. As you can see, the inside still has a good amount of junk in there. That's mostly interior parts. Still got to get our bolts, or get our brackets fixed up, and some carriage bolts so we could put this bumper back on. Well, inner bumper first, outer bumper second. And of course, like I said, the little rubber piece there will either that'll get put back on or replaced. As far as other stuff, I have a couple of these front side marker lights. Actually got a spare one there. These look like the original ones because they still have this burgundy paint on it, but I'll put those on next and continue on. Also got a hood hinge up there. Found the second hood hinge right there. I'll bolt that back up just as well, and probably get the hood bolted up to it and look at the latch to see if that's functional, and if so, get that working so we could actually have the hood latch up. So the work continues.